Com. This video is going to look at diffraction effects and what you can do about it in Adobe Camera Raw when you're converting RAW files. Let's first look at what diffraction does. So I'll just say it's an optical phenomenon in which the light spreads out or diffracts and increasingly blurs the image. A good aperture is 5.6. You can see it looks nice and crisp. You'll get a significant dulling at f8, more dulling at f11. Watch those 70 bars. 70 bars. And then at f16, things really start to go soft. f22, it's looking pretty bad. f32 is terrible. And this is only on I think an 18 megapixel camera. On a 60 megapixel camera, the effects look really bad right at f11, much worse than what's seen here. So let's look at what you do about that when you're converting your RAW files. So I'll get rid of this guy, and we'll go over here where I've shot an aperture series, which is what I often shoot. You may not shoot them, but you may shoot at f8 or f11 a lot. And it's worth knowing what's going on with this. So pretty much if you're shooting at wide open at 1.7, 2.8, 4, 5.6, all four of these, I typically sharpen down here. I sharpen at 45, 0.7, 70, 20. Now I'm not going to try to explain what those numbers mean. They're kind of, you figure them out, and that's what I've been using and I typically use. Now, as diffraction starts to really take effect at f8, you'll see that these numbers have become 48, 0.8. So I've added more sharpening with a wider radius, and that gets f8 pretty close to 5.6. I'm going to zoom in some extra here and flip between them. You can see that 5.6 is a little sharper. In fact, there's enough less diffraction that if you look very closely, probably the video won't compress it good enough to see this. There's actually sort of color aliasing or color speckling here at 5.6. I'll zoom in some more, maybe we can see it. It's called color aliasing, and it's due to the nature of the Bayer sensor. At f8, diffraction is now blurring the image enough that the color aliasing disappears, but you're also losing details. That's 5.6. 8, 5.6, 8. I don't know if the YouTube videos are going to show you this. And then when you go to 11, you can see, look how dull that is. It's very dull. There's 5.6. You can see it's nice and crisp. There's 11. It's like somebody smeared it. In fact, that's exactly what's happened. Diffraction has smeared it. So what do you do about that? You go over here, and I crank it up to 55 and 0.9 on these numbers, and even then, it still looks smeared. So what's our lesson here? I could put it at 80, and we're still not going to get back to full sharpness. What putting it at 80 does is really make it look fairly crunchy, and it can counteract it to a certain extent. But the bottom line here is you really don't want to shoot at f11. It's a terrible aperture for 100 megapixel Fujifilm or a 60 megapixel Sony, because it just stomps all over image details. So what I recommend is shoot at 5.6 if you can and use focus stacking. Shoot at f8 and go a little more on the sharpening, and you'll still be pretty happy. It's not going to be as crisp as 5.6, but you'll get more depth of field. And just don't go to f11 unless you really have to. And f16 and f22 are really quite a disaster. I mean, they just annihilate image detail, and you're not going to get it back no matter what you do. That's actually true of f11. There's no amount of sharpening I can apply here that's going to actually make it look as sharp as 5.6. That's 5.6. That's 11. You can just see how much blurrier it looks. 5.6, 11. So don't stop down too much, but if you do, crank up these numbers as long as you're not making your image look too crunchy or nasty. And that's really all there is to what I call diffraction mitigating sharpening.